what's going up in a down market? Because I see a lot of cards that I have no idea.
Yeah, that's kind of, I mean, I'll be honest. So yesterday I was like, boy, you got to talk about, unfortunately, we're in a down market right now. That people are throwing around the big R word. It could be another recession. I had to say it real quietly. And so I think there's some people, especially if you've invested a lot in sports cards or cards in the last couple of years, you're thinking, well, everything's gone dipping down a little bit, and it's, wondering, is there anything out there that's going up? Well, I tried to do a little research and found that there is still stuff that is worth investing in. There's still some stuff that, or if you're holding on to some stuff, that maybe you should take another look, because there still is stuff that is going up right now. So some of the things I found, I'll get it up on the slides here. The first things that really caught my eye were sort of vintage stuff. I think a lot of vintage stuff is still doing relatively well. I've got on the slide like a 54 Willie Mays, just an SGC 7, but the price of it steadily going up and spiking at times. Base cards or variations of big hobby stars, Tom Brady, Ken Griffey Jr., Michael Jordan, but not those like rookie cards you would expect that everybody wants. Stuff that's like from later in their career, or just a second year card. That stuff tends to still be doing pretty well. And also, I think I just still have to throw it out there, wrestling's still doing pretty well, even after some of the dips for WWE Prism. Overall, some singles wrestling cards like I have on the screen there from our friends over at Card Ladder, a gold refractor Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I think I've even said on the show that I think that stuff specifically from The Rock, I think, is actually a really good investment, just because there are probably 5 celebrities that anyone on the street could name, and one of them is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and there are cards of him out there.
I know he has a Miami Hurricane card. It's like ridiculous, yes. Which is hard to get. But it's interesting you have this Rock Johnson gold refractor. And the first, if you look at the Card Ladder data, so there's only been 3 sales in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
But during the height in July of 2021, which is kind of still the really big boom era, looks like that card sold for under $1,000, but then recently sold for this price, which is crazy. So $5,600, pop 4. Why the big jump? I don't understand.
I just
think one of those pieces that you have to have, and there's very few of them.
Yeah, I think part of it is the just spike in interest, too, in wrestling cards in general.
That looks like that transaction happened right around when Prism, Panini Prism Wrestling
March
came
31st.
Out. Yeah. So people may have been speculating on the boom that we're going to have with Panini Prism. So go back and get the Topps Chrome and then capitalize on that.
I'm assuming
market.
That's his first wrestling card, maybe? WWE card, for that matter?
Ooh, 2014?
I don't know.
I think there's some. I gotta think there's
or
other
maybe
sets.
it's because it's a gold refractor. It's numbered. The other ones might not be numbered.
Right. And I
Could
think
be the first year of Chrome they did for wrestling.
Right. True.
And I think also the thing to keep in mind here, obviously a lot of these are really low pop, but I think that's another thing to keep in mind. If you're looking at things where like this is really low pop, and it's whether it's vintage or whatever, like I think that's always it's something I think you guys have preached a ton of times. It's like, look at the pop report, and you'll start to see that these things start to trend upward, even when things are going down a little.
Well, it's almost like and I don't want to say why people are buying Willie Mays because I think it's wrong, but I know why people are buying Willie Mays. But if you look at the graph on that one, July 12th again sold for $600, and then all of a sudden it sold for $3,000. So it's almost like if you have a card like this, you can hold out and wait for that person that really wants it, especially if you're dealing with low pop. And so many people are using comps to decide. And if somebody would have sold this based on comps, they would have sold it for $600, right? Mm-hmm. But they held out. And they're like, somebody's going to really want this. So now it sold for $3,100. So is that the new comp now, right? So sometimes comps don't even matter when it comes to cards like this. When you're dealing with population of a couple or 4 in the regards of the Rock card, is that you could literally name your price. What do you want to give me? I don't want to sell it. sometimes people get desperate. They need the money. They got to sell it. But if you don't have to sell it, you can kind of wait for the right price.
Yeah. The other thing that I found out, that Garbage Pail Sapphire product that came out?
Yeah.
It's a $2,000 box.
We have it, right?
Yeah. Well, I hope so.
I was just about to say, I noticed that the trend, just on social media and stuff, I noticed that anything Topps put out that's Sapphire now is just gold. It's literal gold.
Star Wars.
Well,
It doesn't
think,
matter what's Sapphire, Garbage Pail Kids, Star Wars, obviously F1's extremely hot. Regular baseball Sapphire is all usually pretty good as well. But
is that going to take over the chrome refractor? Is it going to be like the Sapphire one's the one we want? Or is that like... Because I know we had Tiffany in base, but we didn't have refractor.
I almost want to say it's just like it's like a trend or
It's
a
a trend.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think I would rather, if you're like a Lewis Hamilton collector, right? I think I'd rather have the refractor out of the hobby rather than the Sapphire base, right?
Now, with that said, I mean, I get it. The Sapphire cards look damn cool. I love
do.
that blue cracked ice, man. It's like mesmerizing to look at.
Atomic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
As some might say.
And then we have some other. So we have some other weird
blue
cards.
cracked ice. Always nice.
Is that a $68,000 Iron Man card?
Yeah. So Marvel cards.
specifically precious metal gems?
That's the thing is to keep in mind is the precious metal gems, which are really hard to come by. The pop report is obviously super low, and there's still a lot hanging around that we clearly don't know about that people are holding on to. But those things, it's one where too, I think it's maybe trends towards Marvel in general. I think Marvel and kind of also Star Wars. You guys talked about the Star Wars Sapphire set or the Star Wars set that just came out. That Sapphire set that was pretty in demand. It's just these are massive brands and massively popular things, like especially Marvel, which is kind of, as much as I love Star Wars, it pains me to say this, it is the dominant pop culture brand and movie brand of the 21st century so far. So it just, I think that there's still a ton of room to grow for some of this stuff, as crazy as these prices are for some of this Marvel stuff. And I don't know where. Do you guys know where the Marvel brand stands right now? I think Upper Deck still has a hold
Upper
of
Deck,
it, right?
Yeah.
So I just think so where I mean I don't know. Maybe I'm not as hip to the Marvel stuff right now. That there's more stuff coming down the pipeline. But seeing what these cards go for and seeing how popular Marvel is more than it was in 2013, that's for damn sure. I don't really know why we don't see more of that stuff, I guess.
Well,
Also,
and
it's also
here-
the iconic PMG, of
yes,
anything.
that too.
Well, this is what I was going to say. I was just talking to somebody about this with the soccer market. The reason soccer was hot 2 years ago is because there was 3 sets a year, right? So you had Prism and you had a couple other sets. Now in 2022, we have 150 sets a year. So the allure to the Marvel might be because there's only a few of them,
Right.
And
it's
if the Upper Deck's well, we got the demand, let's make more. I mean, we have some stuff called Marvel Annual that doesn't sell. And so it's you kind of want them to not make as much, even though you do want to have more. It's like a catch-22. You don't want to have more because you want the value to stay around for the ones that they did make. But the soccer market right now is. There's still great cards out there, and there's still rookies performing, but there's just so many releases coming out. I mean, we have a soccer product coming out every year between the Topps and Panini, and you got the the World Cup around the corner, and you got Obsidian, there's Chronicles, there's Chrome Women, there's Chrome Champions League, and there's MLS, and it's so many different soccer sets. It's these collectors don't know where to go, and they sit sets out, and they wait for some of the ones they really want, and I think that the market on soccer, I know it's international market. We always preach about that, but I don't think there's many collectors as there is baseball, football, especially in the States. So, interesting. On a side note, that Star Wars card, $4,500. Is that the 77 Star Wars card you want?
From the 77. No, it's not the one you would want. You would probably want the Luke Skywalker. Obviously, there's the infamous C-3PO card from the Series 2 that a lot of people would want. But I think it's telling, that card, which is what? That would be the Darth Vader card. That what is it? The villainous Darth Vader card. Just anything from that set is pretty in demand, and it is kind of starting to turn, I think, into how anything vintage doesn't matter what it's graded, you're gonna want it in your collection. And I think that 77 Star Wars set, and I think a lot of early Star Wars sets, I think has the potential to kind of turn into that for people who and I think there's still a crossover with a lot of sports fans and with Star Wars fans too.
Well, I was just going to mention that before we close out the show here. Do we think some of these guys that jumped in the boom, like in the Mosaic era, and they started buying all these cars, watching them go down, do you think some of these have transitioned into like Marvel and Star Wars?
No, I think those guys are out.
You think those guys are just gone?
Yeah.
Because it's almost like, like F1, nobody really and then everybody jumped into F1 because like nobody was in it, and then everybody was in it.
Yeah. And F1 still also is one of those that's still maintaining a lot of popularity.
Still maintaining, yeah.
No, I think those group of guys who are like, oh, this is where the potential is. They are moving, like this is the same group, that F1 group that definitely is starting to probably pump some Star Wars.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like that new. It's like when you discover a band for the first time. Like, oh, I saw this band, they're local, and they're like not very big, and I'm gonna buy their CD, and I found them. And then it's like, then once everybody else listens to them, it's like, I don't really like them as much anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then you find a new band. So it's like
next big band.
Yeah. It's
you
like
mean when they become Nickelback?
Yeah. It's like the Mosaic became Nickelback, and now people are like, oh, how about Fleer? How about Marvel? How about F1 Chrome? It's like
I have a feeling that's what's happening.
Well, everybody wants to be first to a trend, and it's also financially beneficial to be first to the trend.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
and there's people who are always, like Conrad was saying, they're like going through and just figuring out like where they're going to be able to get ahead of the curve.